Chapter 2, Section 3, Carbon-Based Molecules. Key concept. Carbon-based molecules are the foundation of life. Main ideas. Carbon atoms have unique bonding properties, and 4 main types of carbon-based molecules are found in living things. First main idea. Carbon atoms have unique bonding properties. Carbon is often called the building block of life because carbon atoms are the basis of most molecules that make up living things. These molecules form the structure of living things and carry out most processes that keep organisms alive. Carbon is so important because its atomic structure gives it bonding properties that are unique among elements. Each carbon atom has 4 unpaired electrons in its outer energy level. Therefore, carbon atoms can form covalent bonds with up to 4 other atoms, including other carbon atoms. As the figure on the screen here shows, carbon-based molecules have 3 fundamental structures: straight chains, branched chains, and rings. All 3 types of molecules are the result of carbon's ability to form 4 covalent bonds. Carbon chains can bond with carbon rings to form very large complex molecules. These large molecules can be made of many small molecules that are bonded together. In a sense, the way these molecules form is similar to the way in which individual links of metal come together to make a bicycle chain. In many carbon-based molecules, small molecules are subunits of the entire molecule, like links in a chain. Each subunit in the complete molecule is called a monomer. When monomers are linked, they form molecules called polymers. A polymer is a large molecule, or macromolecule, made of many monomers bonded together. All of the monomers in a polymer may be the same, as they are in starches, or they may be different, as they are in proteins. Second main idea. 4 main types of carbon-based molecules are found in living things. All organisms are made of 4 types of carbon-based molecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acid. These molecules have different structures and functions, but all are formed around carbon chains and rings. Fruits and grains are in different food groups, but they both contain large amounts of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are molecules composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They include sugars and starches. Carbohydrates can be broken down to provide a source of usable chemical energy for cells. Carbohydrates are also a major part of plant cell structure. The most basic carbohydrates are simple sugars, or monosaccharides. Many simple sugars have either 5 or 6 carbon atoms. Fruits contain a 6-carbon sugar called fructose. Glucose, one of the sugars made by plant cells during photosynthesis, is another 6-carbon sugar. Simple sugars can be bonded to make larger carbohydrates as well. For example, 2 sugars bonded together make the disaccharide table sugar, like the one shown on the screen here. Many glucose molecules can be linked to make polysaccharides, which are polymers of monosaccharides. Starches, glycogen, and cellulose are polysaccharides. Most starches are branched chains of glucose molecules. Starches are made and stored by plants, and they can be broken down as a source of energy by plants and animal cells. Glycogen, which is made and stored in animals, is more highly branched than plant starches. Cellulose is somewhat different from starch and glycogen. Its straight, rigid structure, which is shown on the screen here, makes the cellulose molecule a major building block in plant cell structure. Cellulose makes up the cell wall that is the tough outer covering of plant cells. You have eaten cellulose in the stringy fibers of vegetables, such as celery, so you know that it is tough to chew and break up. Lipids are nonpolar molecules that include fats, oils, and cholesterol. Like carbohydrates, most lipids contain chains of carbon atoms bonded to oxygen and hydrogen atoms. Some lipids are broken down as a source of usable energy for cells. Other lipids are parts of a cell's structure. Fats and oils are two familiar types of lipids. They store large amounts of chemical energy in organisms. Animal fats are found in foods such as meat and butter. You know plant fats as oils, such as olive oils and peanut oils. The structures of fats and oils are similar. They both consist of a molecule called glycerol, bonded to molecules called fatty acids. Fatty acids are chains of carbon atoms bonded to hydrogen atoms. Two different types of fatty acids are shown on the screen here. Many lipids, both fats and oils, contain three fatty acids bonded to a glycerol. They are called triglycerides. Most animal fats are saturated fats, which means that they have the maximum number of hydrogen atoms possible. That is, every place that a hydrogen atom can bond to a carbon atom is filled with a hydrogen atom, and all carbon-carbon bonds are single bonds. You can think of the fatty acid as being saturated with hydrogen atoms. In contrast, fatty acids in oils have fewer hydrogen atoms because there is at least one double bond between carbon atoms. These lipids are called unsaturated fats because the fatty acids are not saturated with hydrogen atoms. Fats and oils are very similar, but why are animal fats solid and plant oils liquid? The double bonds in unsaturated fats make kinks in the fatty acids. As a result, the molecules cannot pack together tightly enough to form a solid. All cell membranes are made mostly of another type of lipid called a phospholipid. A phospholipid consists of glycerol, two fatty acids, and a phosphate group that is part of the polar head of the molecule. The fatty acids are the nonpolar tails of a phospholipid. Compare the structure of a phospholipid to the structure of a triglyceride on the screen here. Cholesterol is a lipid that has a ring structure. You may hear about dangers of eating foods that contain a lot of cholesterol, such as eggs, but your body needs a certain amount of it to function. For example, cholesterol is part of the cell membrane, and your body uses it to make chemicals called steroid hormones. Cholesterol-based steroids have many functions. Some regulate your body's responses to stress. Others, such as testosterone and estrogen, control sexual development and the reproductive system. Proteins are the most varied of the carbon-based molecules in organisms. In movement, eyesight, or digestion, proteins are at work. A protein is a polymer made of monomers called amino acids. Amino acids are molecules that contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sometimes sulfur. Organisms use 20 different amino acids to build proteins. Your body can make 12 of the amino acids. The others come from food you eat, such as meat, beans, and nuts. Look at the figure on the screen here to see the amino acid serine. All amino acids have similar structures. As the figure shows, each amino acid monomer has a carbon atom that is bonded to 4 other parts. 3 of these parts are the same in every amino acid: a hydrogen atom, an amino group, and a carboxyl group. Amino acids differ only in their side group, or R group. Amino acids form covalent bonds called peptide bonds with each other. The bonds form between the amino group of one amino acid and the carboxyl group of another amino acid. Through peptide bonds, amino acids are linked into chains called polypeptides. A protein is one or more polypeptides. Proteins differ in the number and the order of amino acids. The specific sequence of amino acids determines the protein's structure and function. 2 types of interactions between the side groups of some amino acids are especially important in protein structure. First, some side groups contain sulfur atoms. The sulfur atoms can form covalent bonds that force the protein to bend in a certain shape. Second, hydrogen bonds can form between the side groups of some amino acids, and these hydrogen bonds cause the proteins to fold into another specific shape. For example, the figure on the screen here shows the structure of one of the 4 polypeptides that make up hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that transports oxygen. Each of the 4 polypeptides contains an iron atom that bonds to an oxygen molecule. The 4 polypeptides are folded in a way that puts the 4 oxygen-carrying sites together into a pocket-like structure inside the molecule. If a protein has incorrect amino acids, the structure may change in a way such that it prevents the protein from working properly. Just one wrong amino acid of the 574 amino acids in hemoglobin causes the disorder sickle cell anemia. Detailed instructions to build proteins are stored in extremely long carbon-based molecules called nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are polymers that are made up of monomers called nucleotides. A nucleotide is composed of a sugar, a phosphate group, and a nitrogen-containing molecule called a base. There are 2 general types of nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. Nucleic acids work together to make proteins. DNA contains the code that determines the sequence of amino acids that make up a protein. The code is transcribed to RNA, which moves to ribosomes for protein synthesis. The sequence of amino acids determines the shape of the protein. The shape of the protein is essential to its ability to perform its function. Offspring are similar to their parents because they inherit their parents' genes, which contains codes on DNA to make protein. The same proteins, which perform the same functions, are made from similar genes in offspring through the same processes as in the parents. Chapter 2, Section 3, Carbon-based molecules. Key concept. Carbon-based molecules are the foundation of life. Main ideas. Carbon atoms have unique bonding properties, and 4 main types of carbon-based molecules are found in living things.